so tired. This is probably going to be a very noisy video because there's a group of super rambunctious dogs at doggy daycare today, and they are running around the yard barking at each other, having a great time. But unfortunately, it does mean there will be background noise. Of course, if you've watched any of my other videos, you're probably accustomed to background noise between dogs and pigs and birds and all of that. So I joined several forums and groups and whatever that pertain to mini pigs and their owners. And it's really been eye-opening. One of the first things I covered after joining the groups was obesity in pigs. I think in almost every one of my pig videos, I say do not underfeed your pig. However, pig obesity really is a trend that I'm seeing more and more often. So that was the first thing I wanted to cover. Another thing that I have seen over and over and over, and really, to be completely honest, didn't even realize was a problem, is aggression in pigs. Having said that, I have a lot of adopted adult borderline feral pigs who've never really been handled or socialized prior to coming to me. And they don't especially care for my presence or affection or anything else. And so they will move away from me. But none of them have ever even considered attacking or being aggressive or showing any kind of dominant behavior. And certainly any pigs that I've raised from a relatively young age, never. By the way, my lap is full of pigs right now. Now, I'm not talking about, you have a dirty face. I'm not talking about aggression in baby pigs, because I do see that in almost all of them, and it's a fear thing, not a dominant thing. And it should still be corrected, obviously, but it's not as concerning as what I'm seeing from owners who have full-grown pigs that they are seriously concerned about hurting someone, whether it be themselves, other family members, visitors. And a lot of times these are big pigs too. You know, we're talking 100 pounds plus, and pigs are extremely strong. So it can turn into a dangerous situation really quick. I can't really speak on what to do once your pig has reached this point, because again, none of mine really have. All I can do is try to articulate how I think maybe I've avoided this situation. I have struggled to put into words how I train my pigs in general. People want to know how my pigs are so friendly and sweet, and anyone can hold them and pick them up, and they're patient and tolerant, and they love human affection. And until I started this channel, I didn't, first of all, realize that it's not something a lot of people have success with, but I also never had to try to explain it. I guess I just kind of got lucky in finding the right ways to train them. I'm gonna do my best to attempt to articulate, especially to owners who have pigs that are still young and impressionable and learning, so you can hopefully avoid dealing with that down the road. And owners are having to put boards and things between themselves and their pigs to move them around the house because the pig will attack them. And I don't know that these methods are necessarily the foolproof way to avoid that, but hopefully it will help a little bit for future pig generations. First thing, as you just saw, picking your pig up. Picking him up, putting him down, picking him up, putting him down. One of the things that a lot of pig owners will say is that pigs don't like to be held. Just accept it. I have never willingly accepted that. That's like saying my kid doesn't like to brush their teeth or go to school, so I accept it. That's just, it's not best for them, it's not best for you, and it's something that can be, with diligence and patience, fixed. My pigs love to be held. They will follow me around asking to be held. They will let other people hold them. And I think that, because it is very scary for them, and they're very smart, so they recognize that this is putting them in a vulnerable position. So they are gonna protest it at first, but ultimately we know this is not doing them any harm. In fact, it can be quite enjoyable because they will get more attention from us and snuggles and everything else. But I also think it helps change their mindset a little bit, because they didn't get to decide that. You were the leader. you were the one in charge, the parent, whatever, and you said this is going to be okay. You're going to accept it because I say so. And therefore you are assuming the dominant role, the leadership role. And pigs definitely, even amongst themselves, there is very clearly the dominant pigs. I can tell you in my pig pen, it's always the girls for some reason. But there's a pecking order, and they look to the leader to kind of tell them what to do. And they respect her. They all love each other. They sleep in a big pig pile every night, but they respect the one that's in charge. And if they don't, then she will put them back in their place. One thing that I really, really think helps build that kind of relationship and foundation is getting them to accept this. And accept that when you say, I'm picking you up, I'm holding you until I decide it's time to put you down. I think it's the start, the building blocks. Also, perhaps easy to not consider this when they're small like this, but at some point, it's very likely your pig is going to become too big and too strong for you to successfully wrestle them, capture them, wrestle them, whatever else to pick them up. So let's say there's an emergency and you need to get them out of the place they are or to the doctor or whatever else, and the doctor's gonna need to handle them. It's gonna make everything a lot less stressful, a lot easier, a lot safer if your pig is used to being held. It may still not be easy depending on how large they are, but it will be, again, at least less stressful for the pig if they're somewhat familiar with that whole process. Wait, they have a lot to say on this topic. I don't think anybody on this channel would dispute the fact that I spoil my pigs. Absolutely, 100%. I have raised some very pampered pigs, but I'm careful in the ways that I spoil them, and I'm careful that they don't act spoiled or demanding. Any kind of behavior that resembles them becoming demanding or basically attempting to train me, I immediately put a stop to. I feel like this is almost a universal problem pig owners talk about, where their pigs will start demanding food, whether it be, treats, rewards, especially if they've been trained that they get a treat for going to the bathroom in the right place or doing a trick or at a certain time of day. Try to avoid those routines. I try to avoid any type of consistent treat, rewarding and giving, because it does start to make them demand it and expect it and get a little bit angry with you if you don't comply. You'll find your pig wants breakfast earlier and earlier and earlier. And I think every pig goes through this, and some owners start giving them breakfast earlier and earlier and earlier. And suddenly 2 a.m. your pig wants to be fed and is screaming and angry and grunting and growling at you. So my pigs know that they're not gonna get anything by behaving that way. They're not gonna get put down and when I'm holding them if they scream. They're not gonna get their food faster if they scream. Screaming gets them nowhere. So if they wake up and start yelling for their banana, they have to wait an extra 5 minutes, 10 minutes, which feels like a lifetime, so I don't let it go on too long. But they have to be polite and quiet and patient, and then they will get what they're wanting. Don't let your pig train you. Spoil your pig, love your pig, but make it on your terms. Be very mindful. They are so smart, and I say this a lot, and I think people think it's an insult, and it's not at all. You have to be smarter than a pig to successfully raise a good pig. And that doesn't mean, like an IQ test smart, because clearly humans are going to win that. But pigs are master manipulators, and before you won't even realize the little games they're playing with you until it's too late. Now, the way that pigs interact with one another when they're trying to determine who is the dominant one in a relationship involves a lot of pushing each other around. Theoretically, harmlessly. They're not really doing it to hurt one another. They are social animals who normally enjoy one another's company. So stemming from that, I would kind of do that, but in moderation. So unless the pig was really pushing back at me regarding something I needed them to do or a place I needed them to go, otherwise, we have to have a mutual understanding and respect for each other. So I never antagonize them or, you know, deliberately try to escalate a situation. A lot of times, yeah, you compromise and you pick your battles. But if I sense any kind of uprising in them, I suppose, I do start trying to mimic the way that pigs interact with each other. So if the pig is being bossy or doing something I've told them not to do, harassing one of the other pets, getting into something they're not supposed to, things like that, the first thing I do is stomp my feet at them. So in their direction, I'm stomping my feet, making a ruckus, clap my hands, and firm no. Normally this startles them enough to get them out of the way. And they've also just learned, okay, I probably don't want to mess with this person. I don't know where that was headed, but I didn't really like it. It obviously wasn't a positive experience, so I would like to avoid it. Normally once is not enough though, because they are smart. They'll even wait until they think you've left the area and then try to repeat the behavior. So you really have to be consistent and diligent. You let them get away with it once, and they're gonna be trying twice as often. So that's the first step. And normally that's enough. If your pig is displaying behavior that is more aggressive, where it's not just them being a naughty, mischievous pig, it's not something that's stemming from fear, and it's important to evaluate the situation and make sure that it's not one of those other things, because that you don't want to be too assertive in response to. You have deduced that it is definitely more aggression based. They are trying to dominate you or anyone else. Then it is okay to, again, mimic what pigs do amongst each other. You are not trying to hurt your pig. This shouldn't be anything that actually inflicts pain. It doesn't need to have the desired effect. Pigs will jam their snouts into each other. Get out of my space, go over here, get away from this, do that. So you're going to mimic that by just using your hand, just your 4 fingers, and poke them in the side, just enough to make them move a few steps. Start this when they are young. If whatever they're doing turns into snapping, biting, it's time to take it one step further. This is because, kind of the lesser of two evils here, because otherwise, odds are you could end up with a pig that you can no longer keep. That is actually dangerous. If they think they can get away with biting, if they think they can get away with showing any kind of aggression towards anyone, they can start to take advantage of it, especially if it like moves everyone out of the way or, you know, just makes them feel cool and in control and powerful. They're gonna continue with that behavior and probably escalate it. If your pig is snapping at you, 1 finger on the snout doesn't hurt them, but it makes them think, and they're not gonna like it. I do not suggest doing these things if you are dealing with an adult pig, a huge pig, who is already displaying aggression. I will always be candid about what I feel comfortable giving information on. For instance, a lot of people ask me for care videos and how-to guides and whatever else for all the other animals that I have. And the truth is, while I have owned most of them for years and years and years and years, and I feel like I'm giving really great care to all of them, I just don't feel like I am anything approaching qualified to give advice on them. I would say pigs are the only animal that I feel like perhaps I have accumulated enough experience and knowledge on to share it with others and feel comfortable doing so. So, kind of going off on a tangent there, but I will always be honest, when I don't think that I have the information needed, I don't want to be giving anyone completely inaccurate information. So if you have an adult pig that's aggressive, I would definitely try to get help and information elsewhere. It's a pretty serious situation, and so I would hate to give anyone bad advice. But for the young pigs that have not reached that point, I feel like this is kind of how I have trained mine and never had problems with aggression and just in general bad behavior where they don't listen to me. These training methods aren't exclusive to aggressive pigs. Like I said, it's just setting a precedence from the beginning consistently where they listen to you, where they care about what you want them to do and what you're saying, and you don't end up with an unruly, bossy, in control, or potentially mean pig. As always, Diligence, consistency, and patience. The #1 thing for any of these training methods. Your pig is always learning. They're absorbing all kinds of information because they are so smart. I think this is like the perfect example of how a pig's intelligence is both a fantastic thing when it comes to training them and also a huge hindrance when it comes to training them, because certain things are so much easier because they're so smart, and then other things are really challenging because they're so smart. Okay, ready? Bree's on the ground. I'm gonna pick her up. Yeah. See that? Not a peep. And anyone can do that. Your faces are so dirty. We were out in the sun, playing in the dirt. It's such a nice day. We're just being pigs. Look at my dirty face. I'm gonna pick Tater up. A little more protesting, but he's still young. Okay, say bye. Battery's dying. Bye, battery's dying.